Hi everyone, this is Annie and I'll be talking about Scenario 11 today. So you are teaching in a large school that offers the Year 7 students an introduction to a range of subject areas. Classes rotate through 5-week blocks of time with 4 different specialist teachers in the first semester. You are one of the specialist teachers in this model and you are 1 week into the second rotation. Brad is a Year 7 student in your new class who is very bright and a joy to have in the classroom. He is extremely popular with other students. However, you have heard from the other teachers that if he is corrected for anything, Brad refuses to accept that he has made a mistake or broken a rule, and he responds with, "I just didn't do it." In your lesson today, Brad asked your permission to visit the toilet, which you granted, but as he returns to the classroom, you happen to notice that he is behaving very suspiciously. You see him approach the school bags that belong to the class next door, and he seems to select a bag at random, opens it, takes out the lunchbox, tips the contents onto the ground and stomps on the food. Thinking no one has seen him, he returns to your classroom and resumes his seat as if nothing has happened. Okay, so the first approach that I want to look at is Bill Rogers' approach regarding positive behaviour and leadership modelling. This is discussed in Module 2, and Rogers believes that our characteristics as teachers and educators should be based on rights, respect and relationships. And the aim when disciplining any student like Brad, it should revolve around enabling them to take responsibility for their actions and be accountable for their misbehaviour and wrongful choices. So he also uses corrective strategies that are implemented at different times based on the seriousness of the issue. So in this case, I would firstly take Brad aside and I would talk to him privately instead of in front of the class, because his misbehaviour may have something to do with private matters such as family life. So talking privately is best in this case. The I statement is another strategy that you can use. So after taking Brad aside, I would use this strategy just to make him aware that I know what just happened. This is a little bit more intrusive, but may be used in cases where other students' rights and well-being are involved. So since someone else's lunch got stomped on, this is the case. So I may assertively state my personal feeling and the effect of Brad's behaviour and the description of what I saw. So I could say something like, "Brad, I feel really confused and upset as to why you got so angry and now somebody else's lunch is ruined as a result of that." Another strategy is, "Can I see you after class?" So this is a good way to let Brad know that I am serious about fixing this issue, and it gives us time to discuss the issue in further depth. So I will be talking about how I would go about that in more depth myself soon. And other issues as well would be, look, the child's lunch has been ruined. So I would make sure Brad cleans the child's bag up. And we would personally go and find the student and privately explain the situation and have Brad formally apologise for what's happened himself. And to avoid further humiliation, I would personally go to the canteen with the student who lost their lunch without Brad and explain the situation and ask if we could get some lunch for this student. I would also make sure I'm continually talking with a calm and respectful tone at all times and not getting aggressive or angry at Brad in this process, so it doesn't make the situation worse. Okay, the second process I want to talk about is responsible thinking process, or RTP. So this is developed by Edward Ford and is also out of Module 2. This is based around a set of questions to help students reflect on their misbehaviour. So once I was privately speaking to Brad after class, I would first ask, "What are you doing?" So since I've been told recently that this is hard for Brad to accept responsibility for his actions, this will gauge whether I think he is going to take responsibility or not. The second question is, what are the rules? This will refer him back to the student expectations instead of me sounding controlling and telling him what I think he should do. And it's also very important that student expectations and rules need to be implemented thoroughly on an ongoing basis, especially since these classes are rotating every 5 weeks or so. So the third question is, what happens when you break the rules? So this will get Brad to think about and reflect on what consequences may arise from what he has done. And these student consequences really need to be known by all students and brushed up on regularly, just so they understand what will happen if they misbehave. The fourth one is this what you want to happen, or what do you want to do now? So this allows Brad to think about this on his own terms and let him decide how he wants to act in the future. And it also lets him know that, yes, what he's done isn't right, but there are room for changes. And number 5, what will happen if you misbehave this way again? So Brad may lose some of his rights, such as having teachers trust him and letting him go off by himself during class. So the third thing I want to talk about is obtaining support from other staff members and parents. So this has been taken from Lee and Marlene Cantor's assertive discipline approach. So with staff members, as this is quite a serious case, I would let the principal know what has happened and get their views of the topic and how we could go about this. And this may include a discussion on whether a discipline plan needs to be put in place or whether parents should be contacted. I'd also talk to the school counsellor about possibly arranging a meeting with Brad to discuss why he got so angry and why he's trying to hide this anger. And I would also discuss what plans have been put in place for Brad for the other teacher specialists after the new 5-week cycle begins, just so they're prepared as well. Obtaining support from parents. So as this isn't the first time Brad hasn't taken responsibility for his actions, I would consider taking other measures such as calling his parents and asking for a potential meeting to discuss Brad's behaviour and just see how we can help push him in the right direction. Because there also may be some underlying issues going on in Brad's life, so this may be important to discuss with his parents, so Brad isn't receiving unfair discipline from other teachers without knowing the full extent of the problem, and just so Brad can get some extra support from the school as well. So Wong's approach is something that I would use to prevent this from happening again. So this is just so students are aware of their responsibilities and expectations as soon as the rotates start. So students are aware of, what they need to do and how they should be behaving in the classroom from the very beginning. Okay, so these are my discussion questions that I have for you guys to have a think about and possibly discuss in the comments. And these are my references.